Let's just quickly, you start by just briefly explaining to us again this gas commercialization program, what it is and what it seeks to achieve.
Okay, so basically, the gas commercialization program is essentially associated gas, so that's gas that comes from existing oil production, okay, that is being flared instead of being used and turned into gas for different uses. It's being flared, it's destroying the economy, it's destroying the environment. It's also money that you're literally flaring. About 10 years ago, the country had about 2 billion that they're flaring, 2 billion standard cubic feet. They have now managed to reduce that to, I think, about 750 million cubic feet. And this process is the first time it's going to be introduced, and the purpose is just to put legislation or guidelines behind the process of eliminating gas flare in total.
Okay, now, so now the government is inviting investors now, and what we hear, what the government has said so far is that 200 companies so far have submitted bids for the right to commercialize flared gas. Help us understand, I mean, what the process will entail, and if it's successful, how this is going to change, gas flaring as we know it.
Okay, so basically what they want to do is this. Government, through legislation that's been passed in the past, actually does have a right to collect the flared gas at the wellhead, okay? And they're supposed to collect it, from my understanding from legislation, it's supposed to be free of charge, okay? Now what they're doing is that they have now invited potential investors who will come in, who will set up infrastructure next to these existing oil fields, and collect the gas, process the gas, and then sell them to markets. Okay, they have about 200, companies that are bidding for it now. Okay, I'm not sure that 200.
I was going to ask that. I mean, is that the number that the government needs or is seeking, or will just end up being a few players at the end of the day?
They only need a few. I mean, I would be surprised if there are more than 20 companies that eventually make it. Okay. As everything in Nigeria, everybody thinks that they have a chance. So you will have a high number of entrants, or rather a high number of applicants. It's now up to government to do their work, to prove that these guys are not only technically competent, but that their commercial competence is not in doubt. And hopefully, government will also be able to determine that these people that they will give the licenses to will have the capacity to raise financing for that project.
But do you expect this to take some time? I mean, if we're talking raising financing, that is a different ballgame entirely,
exactly.
And that, because I don't know, there hasn't been any timeline, set by the government, although they're hoping that by the year 2020, there will be zero, flared gas. But I'm thinking that these new players will be instrumental, to that, in achieving that target.
Exactly. So first of all, let's give government the credit. This is the first time somebody's going to get up and do something, well, I wouldn't say constructive, and take a decisive action towards bringing investors in. Okay, so that's a major achievement. And if you look at the team that's built this whole policy, they're some of Nigeria's best.
Okay.
Now, it's now up to government to say, the people who are applying, do they really meet the criteria, okay, of making this investment? Now, in terms of financing, you're right. Financing is not the easiest to get if you're not, if you haven't got your act together. So let me give you some of the things that I think will be essential. There has to be a good and excellent commercial justification for financing. Okay. So you've got to get the commerce right, the commercial aspects of it. So one example. The reason that the IOCs or the owners of the existing assets are flaring today is probably because a lot of these gas don't have transportation channels. So if you set up your gas processor there, okay, how are you going to transport it to where it's going to be used, where you're going to sell it? That's one thing, okay? That forms part of the commercial proposition. And clearly, as a finance person, you're not going to come in, even if you've got this beautiful packaged gas, and there is no way of moving it to market. Okay?
Yeah, obviously, nobody's going to come in and start building roads.
Nobody's going to, well, forget about the roads. Think about the transport.
Transport, okay.
Think about the pipelines that are supposed to be used.
Obviously.
Okay? And the reason that the government, that these things don't exist is because government in the past has actually found it difficult to finance its own portion of the investments that the IOCs would need to put into this project. So basically, it's like when you have insufficiency of funding, you just do the barest essentials, okay? What's going to happen now is that a lot of these people who are bidding will have to build transportation systems, okay? Will have to have the right product in order to get these projects working. So if I sit down as a banker and say to you, okay, you want to build this project, okay? Who are your buyers? What product are you going to take out of it at the end of the day? I'm going to take power. I mean, I'm going to take gas to supply to the power projects, okay? Power stations and all that. Look what's happening to the power projects right now.
But I'm assuming that, I mean, all of this will be contained. I mean, this is maybe not a given, but part of what the discussions and criteria that will be discussed between those who are bidding and the government.
Yes.
I mean, to shorten things, because, I mean, obviously there's a lot to do.
It would be. But you see, the point is that what we're trying to say is this. If you don't understand, if you do not set the proper criteria, I doubt if the 200 potential investors would all have a plan towards, you know, or actually have financing towards transportation, okay, towards the other project elements that are needed.
Wouldn't that mean that means that they do not have a complete total understanding of what they're getting themselves into and what the project, I mean...
Well, I'm not doubting anybody's...
Yeah. That is required.
I'm not doubting anybody's competence, but in the past, you'll find that a lot of people apply and very little, a tiny number of people actually understand what's going on.
Okay, we have 10 seconds left.
Okay.
Let's fast forward. Say we get all the bidders, we have successful bidders. What is going to change? What are you expecting will be the first thing that will change with all the necessary investments, et cetera? I mean,
well, let's assume that they'll be able to raise the financing for it, okay? And financing consists of equity and debt, okay? They put the facilities in place. They will have to process. They will have to find end markets. And by the way, if you're going to go in for a bid like this, then you better be sure where your end markets are going to be.